Scott Van Pelt joining us here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Scotty?
I'm good. The U.S. Open is teed off, Rich. Teed off. World Cup kicked off. The U.S. Open's teed off. Golf clap. Yeah.
I just gave you a golf clap. I really did.
I feel good about it.
Hold on a minute. You the man, Scott. You the man.
Mashed potatoes. Get in the hole.
Baba Booey.
So the wind, she is a blowing out there on Strong Island right now. How do you check out the first, I guess, half of the first round, Scott? What's your take on what we're seeing so far?
Well, that's it, right? In a nutshell, this is it's as much as a U.S. Open can be like a seaside links, like the Open Championship, because it sits right there on Long Island. The wind's howling, and it's an exposed golf course where the greens are hard to keep. It's hard to keep your approaches in the right places, and the ball's rolling off, and it's a disaster. There are many cliches in the game, one of which is you can't win it in the first day, but you can lose it. And right now, players like Jason Day, who a lot of people liked, and Jordan Spieth, and I could run through a litany. Rory McIlroy, these guys are like 8, 9, 10 over par in the first day. And Dustin Johnson, Justin Thomas, and Tiger Woods are getting ready to go, as you mentioned, here at this hour. So unless the wind dies down, I don't know how much better anyone's going to do than 1 under par. You shoot anything around even today, and you have played your butt off.
Yeah, but the fact, though, that this is an old school U.S. Open course, one that has seen the U.S. Open before, do you think that's a reason why we're not hearing many complaints about course setup? If this was a Chambers Bay, for instance, there might be some sort of complaints? Scott?
Yeah, that's an interesting point, but I don't think it's that so much as just that I think everyone, the wind doesn't blow. The fairways here are generous enough that you can shoot under par. I mean, look, Piercy shot 1 under. It looks like Ian Poulter can shoot 1. I guess he's got a putt to maybe get to 2. But I think the complaints, and we'll hear what guys have to say when they come off, but I don't think you'll hear people complain just because they understand that if the wind really blows on this golf course, then big numbers can happen. I guess the key will be for the USGA is if you know it's going to be windy, you've got to protect the golf course and field in terms of how you set it up. So I don't know if they set it up today thinking it would be windy, or if they set it up today because they're still pissed off that last year everybody and their mother shot 15 under par, and they want to extract their pound of flesh. I don't know what the reaction will be at the end of the day. It's just obvious that as I said, anything around level pars is great score.
Yeah, I mean, do you give us a little bit of insight on that, Scott? I mean, does the USGA sit around and stew over the final numbers and say, okay, let's get that stimp like it's a sheet of glass when it's all said and done?
Sure. I mean, listen, they'll lie about it, and they'll say we're not trying to protect par and we don't care what the score is. But that's over the years, it's just been they've shown that that's not the case. Hell, the last time they played at Shinnecock, they killed the golf course. And I mean, that's not like a metaphor. Like the entire golf course was dead on Sunday. And if you'd have dropped a match on the first tee, the entire 18 would have been on fire in 2 minutes because everything was dead. And they don't love the idea that double digits under par wins their championship. That just doesn't typically happen. And then last year, everybody, Koepka and I'm trying to think, it was Fleetwood and Brian Harmon and all these guys were double digits under because the course just wasn't. There was no defense for what they could do. And that's just not what the U.S. Open typically is. That also is not a golf course where they'd ever played before. So Shinnecock, as we saw, I think it was 4 under that Goosen shot that year, but he putted like a space alien the year that he won. He made like 5 one-putts from 20 feet. It was a joke. So, long story, yes, they don't want to see you shoot low scores. They'll say they don't care, but that's a lie.
Scott Van Pelt from the Worldwide Leader, Midnight Edition of SportsCenter. Love watching him here on the Rich Eisen Show. And I think I've shown remarkable restraint so far. You've been on about 4 or 5 minutes. I haven't asked you a point-blank question about Tiger Woods, Scott. I think I've done. I'm kind of patting myself on the back right here.
As you should. So fire away. Now take the gloves off. What do you want to know?
I don't know. I just wanted to say his name. It's so sad. So sad what I've devolved into right now, Scott. I'm just going low-hanging fruit, but I guess let's go with what sort of shot you think he's got this time around. What do you think?
It's the giant question mark that I'm just guessing if I say one thing or another. If he hits the ball tee to green, where he did at the Memorial, where he played great golf, except for putting, then he's going to have he'll have an opportunity. He could contend. The fairways are wide enough that I don't think that's going to be an issue for him. I would think he'd play well. I got a bunch of buddies that told me that they were the prop bets that they were betting. Oh, he's missing the cut. He's missing the cut. And I'm like, all right, well, I mean, if you want to take a stab at it, fine, go ahead. But I think he's played well enough this year in total to think he could contend. But literally sitting here watching the wind blow and watching these guys that are like Jason Day and McIlroy and Spieth shoot these giant numbers, and I just would shrug and tell you I have no earthly idea what he's going to do.
Well, it's be part and
I wish I had a better answer.
No.
Like I want to be a good guest. I want to give you the goods, and I don't feel like I'm giving you the goods right now. I feel like I'm just kind of being like the shrug emoji.
But you've got nothing. I mean, anything else that you'd say would be a lie, Scott. And honestly, the question that question wasn't even that good either. I'll be honest. I'll criticize myself. I'll raise my hand. The question wasn't that great.
So a C minus question and like a C minus answer.
Hey, let's put it all together, and hopefully it'll cancel each other out. And that was just an A broadcasting moment for both of us. How did the Caps victory sit with you, Scott? Give me some Mid-Atlantic region voice to this long wait finally ending.
It was spectacular, man, and I've been as honest and, to use the word of the day, I've been as transparent as I could be about the fact that I'm not from October until April, like sweating out the games with the Panthers. Okay, nice. I just don't have the time. I don't have the intellectual and emotional energy. But I really love the Stanley Cup, and I always have. And so I went to Game 4, the one that they won 6-2, and it was so much fun to be in D.C. and see the atmosphere and see the energy of the place. And I'm telling you, Rich, and I mean, look, I grew up there. I saw the Redskins win, and the Redskins own that town. There's no lying about that. But what the Capitals did in winning, beating the Penguins along the way, and then in winning their first cup, and then how they celebrated in the city with this nonstop, just joyful, drunken. I mean, it was nonstop. That's well put. That's exactly what it was. It's made them like a forever team in D.C. They have been totally embraced, and it's become beloved in a way that I didn't even know hockey could be loved in D.C. But it's because of the way Ovechkin led them. It's because of how much fun they had in the process and after. And it's been amazing to me to see how DC has just exploded with love for the Capitals. It was so much freaking fun.
Yeah, man, and you're right. It's fun watching these guys. Like, we're just showing video of some of the celebration. You know, TJ Oshie, for whatever reason, pulling his jersey over his face and then pouring a beer through the jersey. Ovechkin Ovechkin himself. I mean, just watching him with pure joy. It's been a full week. Has he given up the cup to anybody else yet? Has that happened yet?
He gave it to Backstrom right off the bat, and then ever since then, I think mostly. I mean, it's been in his bed. The pictures. It's been everywhere, and God only knows what will happen to it and with it during the time that the Capitals have it. But I mean, from the second he went onto the ice. Like that look on his face has never changed. It looks like a little kid on Christmas. And, he look, you know this, you follow the sport. He wasn't a good player. He's a great player. He's a 600 goal guy, and he carried the weight of, but they always failed, this and that. And he won the Conn Smythe. He was everything a captain was supposed to be. And then then he put his body in a fountain and his face in keg stands. And, he was, he did what you're supposed to do. He was a captain. Oh, captain, my captain.
Yes,
he became a legend, guys. He became a legend.
I know, and he just looks like an extra from Game of Thrones or from one of those Capital One commercials, right? Where he's just.
Although he shaved the beard yesterday.
Did he really?
Yeah.
I don't even know what.
It was a Gillette play. You know how that works.
Yeah. It was a Gillette sponsorship.
If the check clears, the beard, I can grow another one.
Yeah, that's right. Off comes the playoff beard. Playoffs are over, and it's funny how you said that too, because. About how you fully admit that you'll surf into the hockey season when the Cup playoffs begin, and I'll raise my hand and be one of those too. Very rarely was I told by SportsCenter management, don't say that again in my 7 years there. The one time I was told, maybe you want to lay off that. Like, so there was like a half, don't do that again, was on the opening night of the hockey season when ESPN had the rights to the NHL nonstop. I mean, it was wall-to-wall Steve Levy Palooza. Where I did a highlight. It was Ottawa versus who the heck knows. And it was a tie. And I said, Ottawa is now tied with 12 other teams for the 8th and final playoff spot in the Eastern Conference. And I was so proud of myself. And they're like, yeah, maybe you don't want to say that anymore. You know, it's just it's a long season. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
it's a long season.
I've been policed for other things, but I was way deeper into the fescue than you were with that one.
The emotional fescue?
Yeah. I don't know. Whatever it was the Disney fescue. It might have been. I don't know. Whatever it was. There's been a few times. Maybe I don't want to go down that road again. I don't do that.
I did open a SportsCenter talking about how much money Ovitz made in the Disney deal that when it happened, and that was like almost like a network movie moment right there, where don't mess with the forces of nature. That was one of those. But anyway.
Can I give you the best one I got called in for? Just real quick?
Please, Scott.
You might recall an SNL short that involved a song about a Christmas present that you could give.
About a box? Is it about a box?
Correct. And there was a period of time when on SportsCenter we would put sound of an analyst or an athlete into a highlight, and it was they called it the SOT box, and the picture would pop up on the screen. And we did it with Dick Vitale, and I said, it's Dick Vitale in a box. And I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was really brilliant. And there were some who disagreed. And so,
excuse me. I mean, what is factually incorrect about what you said? Truth is your defense.
That was my point. Is it was a SOT box, and Dick Vitale was in it. So I did say his last name. I felt like that was an important distinction to make. So I was Dick Vitale in a box.
Was the red light on?
I thought the Emmy was coming that week. It did not.
Was the red light on from the voicemail when you got back to your desk? Was it that quick?
I don't even recall how it happened. I just recall that there was a meeting, and I got called in, and there was conversation, and there might be something in a permanent file. I don't know.
Permanent file, like third grade. Yeah. It's on your permanent record. Oh, man.
Well, I'll be there at midnight tonight doing a show, so everything worked out.
Look forward to it. Is Andy North still involved in the coverage? Is he still?
Oh, yeah, he's up there. Yeah, he's there at Shinnecock with Tom Rinaldi. It's a Fox production these days, which is it's odd to watch someone else do it because we did it for so many years. But these are long days, man. So it's fun to sit up and just let someone else do the heavy lifting. But Andy and Tom Rinaldi will be there.
Okay.
I'm sure we'll be talking about day one from Shinnecock.
Well, I'm sure Tom Rinaldi will introduce. There's only two ways you can introduce Andy North. You know that, right, Scott?
Mm-hmm.
It's
two-time U.S. Open champion.
51 weeks of the year. He's two-time U.S. Open champion, Andy North. But this week, He's Andy North, two-time winner of this event. That's
also true.
That's it. See? Now, but no one's going to complain about this. It's factually correct as Dick Vitale being in a box.
Correct.
Scott?
Both are true. Both things are true.
Take care, Scott. Great chat.
Good to talk.
You guys.
Have a good day.
That's Scott Van Pelt. Check him out tonight, midnight Eastern SportsCenter.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.